need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. I'm your host, Dania Roberts. We're here to give mental health insights and spiritual empowerment. And today we have a special guest with a special topic, and it's something that has been showing up more and more in my office these days. And so I figured I would have someone who specializes in this area come in and talk about it. We're going to talk about sex addiction today, and we have a special guest. And let me introduce him. Our guest today is Dr. Jarett White. He's an education program development specialist for the Office of Training and Professional Development within the Department of Children and Families. He has a doctoral degree as a licensed clinical pastoral counselor from Cornerstone University in Lake Charles, Louisiana. He currently serves in the Marriage Enrichment Ministries and is a leader with Epic Church Youth International. And he lives in New Jersey with his wife and his college-age son. So let's welcome Dr. Jarett White. How are you doing, sir?
Fantastic. It's a wonderful day to be alive.
Yes. Good to have you here, man. Good to have you here. Looking forward to talking to another counselor, black male counselor who does sex addiction.
It's not primary, but it's becoming up a lot in the past 2 years.
Yes. So well, before we jump into sex addiction, let me ask you, how did you get into the counseling field? How did that happen to you?
It's that's a great question. The biggest issue is why did I start counseling at the age of 12? Counseling for me was something that I did naturally with my friends, and then and through high school, through college, and through life, it's been a part of me encouraging other people to do better, to see better, to make plans for their life, and to help them figure out what they need to figure out. I was never the one to tell them, you need to do this, you need to do that. I was the one who was like, well, how can you do that differently? Or is she really the one for you? Type of person.
So you were that
getting people to think about their lives for themselves.
Okay, so you were doing this at 12.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
It started in elementary school. I wasn't getting paid for it. I wish I was.
You'd be a rich man, right? Definitely.
That's right.
I hear you. So in terms of just in terms of sex addiction, people have a lot of misconceptions about sex addiction. A lot of times you hear people say, "Well, I don't have sex with everybody I see, so how does that make me an addict?" So, what would you how would you define sex addiction, or how would you know that somebody's a sex addict?
Well, um, there's a myriad of tests you can take. You can take a test to find out where you are in the spectrum, to find out whether it's really an issue. But those individuals are overly focusing on sexual things, right? The first thing that comes up to most people's mind is pornography. It's not just pornography. It could be overly indulging in sex. It could be voyeurism, or peeping toms. People looking at individuals in a sexual manner all the time. And the thing that I hear most often is, well, it's not really bothering anybody. It's just, it's just between me.
Right.
It's like, well, the reality it is bothering other people, because defeat your relationship with others, especially if you're in a marriage situation, right? If you're looking at pornography, you're pulling yourself away from your wife. Um, I also look at it this way. Um, Jesus said that even if you look on a woman lustfully, you've committed adultery in your heart. So it you don't have to physically do anything. It's that lusting after someone else um, for purpose of your personal gratification.
Okay, all right. So like you I guess you mentioned just in terms of not just most people see it as pornography as the biggest issue. Like, so how does it impact like sex addiction impact marriages? Like, give me an example of that, because some people may say, well, what's the big deal, right? What's an example of how may impact a marriage?
Okay. So if you're spending your time looking at pornography,
Right.
and that usually results in masturbation. So you're pulling yourself away from your wife to look after someone that you can never have um, at all. So you're spending time with someone else. Um, and then if you do it often enough, you get caught up in the fact that now you're not able to, I guess they're calling it erectile dysfunction. You're not able to be aroused by your spouse because you're looking for something that was done in a film or a movie. Um, Most individuals know that when they go see a Marvel movie or a DC movie or an adventure movie, that those things don't actually happen. You can't actually do that. But for some reason, they think that when you watch pornography, that's something that you can actually do. Um,
That's a good point.
they don't.
No, that's a good point.
They don't look at it as if there are um, toys or um, claymations made just like they make for a mask for individuals in horror movies to do these things, or just like they get um, animals to act like they have a broken leg, that people are acting like they're enjoying something that can be quite painful, or even impossible to do.
Right. I had a client recently who said that he's not sure if he's a sex addict or not. So would there be like specific things that you would look for when you're determining if somebody's a sex addict?
Um, there's the sexual addiction um, screening test that they can take. It has about 60 or some odd questions that they can ask, and those questions vary from everything from um, were you sexually abused as a child? Um, did your parents have trouble with sexual behaviors? Uh, how often do you find yourself preoccupied with sexual thoughts? And it goes along those lines, and then it gets more specific into different types of sexual behaviors, like looking at pornography or um, lusting after different body parts of individuals. And what people need to realize is not just males, it's males and females that can get caught up in sexual addictions.
Right. Now I was gonna ask. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was gonna say that I think the misconception is that men are the ones who are typically sex addicts because men tend to need sex more than women. But I've found that the women that who I have dealt with, that in terms of counseling, were who are sex addicts, they tended to have a trauma history, meaning like a sexually abused trauma history. Would you agree with that, or could you say a little bit about that?
I would agree with that, and it's what happens in our formative years between the time from birth to 18.
Hmm.
Um, we spend the rest of our lives, 18 years versus the next 40 or 50 years, trying to fix what happened when I was 12, 15, 17 years old, right? Um, uh, so someone who may have been sexually abused, was like, I'm not gonna let anybody do that ever to me again, are now trying to prove something else. Like, I'm gonna be the one in control, right? Or they'll pull away from sex altogether. So
Okay.
trauma has a lot to do with it.
Now today with such where pornography is so easily accessible, how much would you say that plays a part in the rise of sex addiction?
Sexual addiction has risen tremendously because we can carry pornography around in our pocket. We have these pocket computers that we take with us everywhere. And we have locks on them so no one can ever see what we have in this little pocket computer. Most people call them phones, but they're not phones, they're
Right.
pocket computers.
Right.
And the things that some pocket computers can do is a whole lot more than some laptops and computers can do. Before, you had to go to 7-Eleven and go to that shelf, that one shelf at 7-Eleven that
Right.
had the dirty magazines
Right.
in them, right? Now it's just one step away. The other part of it is the industry has put together algorithms to know your patterns. So they may slip an ad in your child's game that they're watching without you knowing it. And now they're going to accidentally click on something that they shouldn't have access to in the first place, right? Because of what you've done on your same computer that your child is using. And it may not necessarily be pornography that you did on your computer. You may have been looking up something for a friend, trying to get them help with their pregnancy type thing. And lo and behold, you now have another potential sex addict or sex addiction going on because of something that came through on the computer laptop. It was just an ad that the child clicked on innocently, right? Other thing that's going on is our ability to access it on our televisions. You can buy porn in the comfort of your home, a part of your package with your television provider, or satellite provider. It's like, it's just an extra $10 a month or whatever it is, and nobody will ever know, right? And then the worst thing I heard is a hotel said they love when Christian conventions come in to town because that's when the sales of movies, pornography movies, go up extremely in their hotels.
Really? Wow. That's interesting.
And that's like very interesting.
Ironic, but okay.
Right.
Now, well, when I was running like a sex addiction group for men, quite a few of them, I would say most guys said they got exposed to sex in like by like by accident, or like for example, like their father might have a magazine stash, or cable TV late at night, or what have you, like accidentally finding these things. So, and a lot of times they were very young ages. We're talking about 8, 10, 12. So I guess the question is, how important is it for parents to really monitor what their children are watching or being exposed to?
Parents should be monitoring what they're watching already. Um, they should also be monitoring the music that they're listening to. Even the cartoons that they watch. Watching SpongeBob SquarePants with a different set of eyes, you see stuff that you're just like, did they just say, did they
Right.
just,
Right.
right? The kids are laughing because of the voices and everything else. But if you really take a look at it, you may see something there that you didn't expect to see there. I go back to Roadrunner and Bugs Bunny, same thing. That they did the same thing, but it wasn't as vert as it is in some other cartoons, right? And if your family has a set of values, you need to see what it is that you're allowing them to do, see, and watch. The electronic babysitter isn't the best form of babysitting all the time, especially if you don't take its time to see what it is that they're looking at and watching. Most individuals that I've worked with all said that they got in contact or got caught up in pornography, sexual addictions before the age of 18. Now it's more because it's something that came across their computer, tablet, cell phone, more so than they found dad's magazines underneath the mattress in the bedroom, right? Or the box of magazines in the attic or basement,
Right.
because it's readily available now.
The like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now back to the show.
So now, I guess just in terms of in terms of like the groups that you run, what are some of the either like techniques or what are some of the ways in which you help people who have sexual addictions?
The biggest thing is finding an accountability partner, right? And someone who KNOW you knows you, and someone who knows you knows you.
Okay,
Someone who knows you and someone who know you,
I got you.
right? They'll tell you you need to stop doing that. They're not gonna like, oh, that's okay, everybody splits and no. You need somebody who is going to put their 10-foot up your behind to get you back on the right path. And having more than one accountability partner helps, right? You also, if you know where your source is, so if you go through media to access pornography, put locks on your devices, right? Some of those are, parent level stuff that you put on devices for kids, but some you need to pay to have a company not only lock your device, screen out stuff, but also send your accountability partner information when you're trying to access something you're not supposed to access.
So and that's very helpful. Now I know you run a group for men. How do most of your guys end up in your group? What are some things that lead to that?
I've noticed it's been word of mouth,
Okay.
Which is weird because this is a topic people don't talk about.
Right. Exactly.
If you really think about it.
Right.
Yeah, if you
Exactly.
think about it,
Right.
But when you're free to talk.
Good
When you
point.
ask somebody to be your accountability partner, it's like, well, I'm kind of struggling there too, right? And it happened basically word of mouth. I use a company, and they also list for people who are out of area or contact with other people, that they can put their name on a waiting list to be a part of a program. Programs have been done online, programs done in person, and I've gotten a couple people that way also. So I have people from New York, New Jersey, California, Wisconsin, all participating and meeting together on a regular basis, once a week. For 5-6 weeks. They would take a couple weeks break and come back together. And they are required to call another person in the group each week.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Part of that calling is, are you doing okay? Right. And not sugarcoating what's going on. Right. People who are healed or healing can do fine for a while and then they fall back. And there's the ability to identify, so what time of day is it that you fall backwards? What's going on? Did you eat right? Did you exercise? Because if you're falling back because of stress, or because you had an argument with your wife or girlfriend or significant other, and now you're going into a direction you don't want to go, you need to be held accountable for that. So if you're not getting the proper rest, your accountability part is like, you need to be in bed by 11.
Okay.
Why are you up to 1 o'clock in the morning? Right? You're like, I'm studying for a test. Then you need to study earlier, or go to bed at 11 and get up earlier, because you're rested and you can focus on that and not drift into another direction.
Let me ask you a question. In terms of when you do online groups as opposed to in-person groups, have you found one to be more effective than the other?
I would think my in-person groups would be more effective. I will say my in-person groups are more talkative, right? But in terms of supporting of each other, my online group is very supportive and strong, a strong knit group of individuals. And whenever possible, I try to pull them all together. Guy from California and Wisconsin probably won't come, but pull them all together. Every fifth Saturday, which would be this month.
Okay.
October.
Okay. All right. I mean, for the guys that I tend to see, it's usually, and men in general, things usually have to be like falling apart before they come in the sense that my wife's about to leave me, I'm about to lose my job, such and such, right? Like, a really embarrassing situation. Is that typically what you find with addicts in general, or is that is that just a sex addiction thing?
What you just said is everything's okay until it's not. That's what you just said. Everything's okay until it's not. If I get caught, now I gotta do something about it. And that, you're right, that is 85 to 90% of individuals who seek help because they got caught.
Okay. Would you say that sex addiction is any different than other addictions, whether it's food or drugs? Like, would you say it's any different, or it's pretty similar?
Well, if you look at the brain, and brain, you get me going somewhere I don't want to go. If you look at the brain of someone who is on cocaine, and look at the brain of someone who is looking at pornography, you will see that they're more addictive to pornography than they are to cocaine. If you look at a brain scan of the two.
Right.
Sexual addiction and pornography has a stronghold on the brain and ability than any other type of addiction. Now, I'm talking about brain. I'm not talking about all the physical stuff that comes with the other things, right? So it's harder to fix this addiction because we now need to change your brain, change the way you think, change the way your source of pleasure. So that pleasure center in your brain has to find another way of receiving pleasure without reverting back to pornography. And for men, it's even harder because once we have that visual, it's stuck there. We don't have to actually go to the
Right.
visual. We can just conjure it up in our brain once again. So it's a harder addiction to deal with. At least for cocaine, you can get it out of your blood system and go forward.
Well,
But
do you also work with partners of people who are addicts, like sex addicts?
I haven't yet. I know it's a need. But strangely enough, if I look at the population of the individuals I've been working with, they're all, well, mostly single. I would say maybe a handful were married, right? And yeah, one possibly be engaged, one's getting married, and everything else, and they wanted that out of their life before they went forward. So the story of how they got involved is much different than someone who got caught, because they wanted to change. They realized that something was not right in their life, right? Which is great, I think. The individuals who got involved because they got caught, right? They're in the process of doing repair. Yeah.
Okay.
And I do say, for those who are in a relationship, to not give bits and pieces of what's going on, because that is traumatic to that partner. If we can get you to a point of restoration before you start telling your story, and when you do tell your story, you tell it in completion, because it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to hurt in her heart, and you got to be able to tell the whole story and not traumatize her with every new piece of information, right? And then once she knows, getting her on your side to help with keeping you restored is a powerful tool. I've not yet had the privilege of doing that yet.
Okay.
But it is definitely part of the healing process.
Okay. I mean, I've with some of the work I've done, I mean, I found that just like men are much more willing to look at, okay, how do I stop watching like porn or stop cheating on my wife, but they're not as interested in looking at like traumatic things that could have led to that. Like sex can be a coping mechanism, things of that nature, right? So I don't know. Do you find that, or have you seen that, like where men tend to struggle with talking about trauma?
Yeah, they do struggle to talk about trauma. They also struggle with dealing with it directly, because if the group I'm working with now, we had them write their sex story. And it's just everything that happened. You did it by decades, 0 to 10, 11 to 20, and what are those things that happen in your life? Things that you want to be forgiven for, things you need to forgive someone else for, the great things that happen and the things you're most proud of, and those things that you wish you could change, and when you realize these are the things that are going on, and when I get stressed, I do this, right? I'll do something simple. Someone was a victim of child abuse when they were young. The parents divorced, and what else? I'll just leave it at those two things, right? So that all happened while they were 8. By the age of 12, they started smoking.
Okay.
By the age of 45, they now have a lung disease, COPD, right? So if we fix the stuff before they were 8, they're not going to start smoking as a coping mechanism because the tar nicotine helps them relax to later on in life having a lung disease.
Right.
Same thing with sexual addictions. If it was being sexually abused, if it was being exposed at an early age unnecessarily, if it was a babysitter fondling you when you were really young, whatever it was that's now stuck in your head, it happened before you were 10, it happened before you were 18, you're now finding ways to cope with it, which may not be healthy, right? Some people move to cope, sexual addiction. Some people may use self-medication, whether that would be weed or cocaine or something else. Overly using over-the-counter drugs, right?
Right.
That leads to other health issues. It can lead to other health issues.
Mhm.
Let me make sure I'm not saying it will.
Right. Well.
And
Mhm.
if anybody's interested, they can look up the ACEs study, ACES study,
Right.
Adverse Childhood Experiences
Mhm.
study, shows how things that happen prior to the age of 18 affects adults' lives as a community into their 80s.
Right. Right. Now, a lot of times, I find, well, people, I should say, people ask me like, well, how long is this gonna take? You know, like, I mean, like, I'll give you about 6 months or 3 months. I mean, what's your response to that?
A lifetime.
All right. So what does that look
It's
like?
a lifetime.
So what does
You
that
know?
look like?
Like it my classes are like 10 weeks long. You're not changing in 10 weeks. You got to apply for the rest of your life.
Mm,
You got to apply what you learn for the rest of your life,
mm,
right? So if you want to get rid of the desire of coffee or the desire of nicotine, you wean yourself off of it, right?
mm,
Or you go cold turkey,
mm.
right? Either way, wean yourself off of it, go cold turkey. You have to purposely not go back to it for the rest of your life. You have to work on not going back to it for the rest of your life. You need to come up with a different coping mechanism for the rest of your life. And you need to have those close relationships that you can say, hey, I'm feeling some kind of way. I may do something I'm not supposed to.
Okay.
You know, I may go out and see a prostitute. I may go in Buffalo, it was Chippewa Street. It was 42nd Street back in the day
Right.
in Manhattan.
Right.
Where is it in Brooklyn?
In Brooklyn, I would say I would tell people where to go, man.
Okay. Don't tell me where to go. Don't tell me.
I'd
They're
say
the red.
the East New York area. Let's leave it at that.
There is a red light district in just about every place you go. Right? You're right. I'm not telling people where to go. And they clean up Chippewa Street in Buffalo, and they did clean up 42nd Street in New York. So don't try to find anything there.
Well, I mean, it's I guess I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask you, but that was funny, but don't go there, right? Don't go there. But yeah. So I guess just in terms of success, right? Do you see like a lot of people? Let's say you have 10 guys in the group. Would you say five tend to turn their lives around, and this isn't an issue, or is it more like one or two?
It depends on how you measure success,
Okay.
right? My first measure of success is them being willing to say, I fell,
Okay.
I relapsed.
Mm-hmm.
That's success. That's because you're not hiding it. For me, that's success because you're not hiding it. Someone who's hiding it, it's like, oh, everything's fine. With men, everything's fine. It's not, and you know it's not fine, right? So that's how I measure success. I don't want people to relapse, but the time from the last relapse to the next relapse, as that gap gets larger, That's fantastic, right? Because you're putting everything in place. You're being accountable. You're talking to your accountability partners, and when you know you're getting ready to do something you're not supposed to do, do something real simple. Go out in public,
Good.
right?
Okay.
If you can, go visit your mom.
Okay.
How much porn are you gonna watch in front of your mom?
Well, exactly. All right.
It's
All right.
like,
All right. So do
so,
you when I worked in with substance abuse programs, you would hear like once an addict, always an addict. Like, do you believe in that, or you believe in, or more so just changing your response to the stimuli?
you uh, I want to pass on that question. I really do.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It-
It's not a trick
that's
question.
like a soapbox question. That's a soapbox question. You want me to get on a soapbox? No, I'm passing.
You're past. Well,
Once an addict, always an addict. You know that's the concept behind AANA.
right.
Hi, my name is. Is like I feel people are redeemed.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
It's like
Yeah. I mean, and I just,
and we as
yeah.
human beings we have choices.
Right. Right.
God has given us choices, and we can choose life or death, blessings or curses. And God's very clear: choose life. That's what He wants us to do.
Okay. No, and I just asked that question because, I tend to say to people that like the temptation doesn't change; it's just more how you respond to it. And like you've been saying the whole time, like given the right tools and the right support, it sounds like that's possible.
It is right.
Mhm.
And if you have a spoon or you have a shovel, you can choose which one you want to use to make your 6 foot hole.
Mhm.
They'll both get you there. One will get you there faster.
Okay. Okay. Now I wanted to ask you now if someone wanted to contact you, for the group or work that you do, maybe tell us a little bit about some of you're in private practice now, right?
It is. You can reach me at peopleintransition.com.
Mm-hmm.
People, the letter N, transition.com. And that's where I do my counseling practice. I'm a licensed clinical pastoral counselor,
Mm-hmm.
Christian-based counseling. And there's a spot in there that you can shoot me an email. We can do either one-on-one counseling, couples counseling. I even do some family counseling. But if you're interested in the group, put that in the chat because I have groups starting sporadically throughout the year. Actually, I have a group looking to start a group by the end of this month, which is October. Someone's interested in joining.
Okay.
Right?
All right. And do people have to be a Christian to come to this program or no?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Just to be clear. Okay.
Nope. All right. Don't need to be a Christian, but just know that concepts of Christianity will be a part of in the course. It's a video-based driven course that you do on your own,
Mm-hmm.
and then we come together for an hour and sometimes 90 minutes to discuss the lesson.
Okay.
And then after we discuss the lesson, there's 7 days that you have to do some homework, come back, report on the homework, and watch the next lesson in that time period.
Okay. So I guess based on like you're saying with the homework, you can pretty much tell who's serious and who's not right away. I'm guessing.
Yeah, you do.
Okay. All right.
Right.
All right.
But
Yeah.
because you're in a group with other men, they all know who is not serious also, and they will put their 10 foot size 10, I'll get it right, but their size 10
All right.
up your
Right.
spectrum to get you on the ball, because you said this, you wanted this for a reason. You
Mm,
know, this is not something. Let me drop in and see what these, you know, other people are doing.
okay.
This is not a drop-in service. This is not um it's not Showtime at the Apollo. It's not a stage play, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And I take individuals' privacy serious. And if I find out that you're talking about other people in the group, first of all, you're gone, and you know, I can't have that.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, listen, man. I definitely appreciate you coming by and dropping some jewels on us. You know, it's um it's always good to talk to another brother, a clinician. Don't see too many of them around, so you know it's always good to see someone else doing good work in the community and helping people to change their lives. So I definitely appreciate you and the work you're doing, man. Definitely.
Hey, no problem, no problem. So I'm not just a sex counselor. I do um, depression and anxiety and other things too.
Okay.
So it's just that that's where I've been focusing the last 2 years. COVID has gotten people to do stuff they wouldn't normally do.
Oh wow, really? So you've seen a significant increase in that area during COVID.
Right, because they
Wow,
weren't going out anywhere.
that's a good point. Wow.
Right.
Okay. Well, listen, man. Thanks again, and maybe we'll check in with you next year and see how you're doing, man.
Will do.
All all right. Thank, I'm gonna wait for you to finish.
Will do. Will do. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. God bless.
Okay.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy.